Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Earlier today, I came across an article about Lil Wayne. And in that article, it featured an interview of Lil Wayne, and he was asked about his position on the Colin Kaepernick protest. And he was also asked about racism in America. And I just want to spend a few minutes just talking about this interview. For those of you who have not seen the interview, I will include a link in the description box so that you can read the article and actually listen to Lil Wayne's interview. So during this interview, Lil Wayne acknowledges that he wasn't really aware of the Kaepernick protest until some of his associates brought it to his attention. And it doesn't surprise me. Lil Wayne does not come across as an informed citizen. He does not come across as somebody who stays in tune with the news and what's going on in the world and in America. He doesn't come across as that kind of person. So it doesn't surprise me that someone else had to bring it to his attention. And during this interview, Lil Wayne really didn't take a position on the Kaepernick protests. He didn't speak for it and he didn't speak against it. And it's my understanding that he basically said that to each his own. That's essentially what he was saying in the interview. He didn't use those exact words, but that's the message that was conveyed in the interview. Now, one thing that I found troubling is that the person who was actually interviewing Lil Wayne actually referred to Lil Wayne as a deep thinker. Here you have a rap artist who promotes drug use, who promotes misogyny, who promotes violence, who promotes promiscuity and debauchery and just all around negativity. But yet this is the person who that particular interviewer referred to as a deep thinker. I find that to be astounding and absurd that someone would refer to somebody like Lil Wayne as a deep thinker. I find it to be absurd, that someone would actually sit down and talk to a minstrel like this about the important issues of today, knowing damn well that this rap artist, Lil Wayne, couldn't care less about what's going on in the world today. He couldn't care less. He doesn't talk about political things in his music for the most part. This is a man who made a mockery of the death of Emmett, who made a mockery of it. And for those of you who aren't familiar with how he made a mockery of it, I'll include a link to some articles or an article about that situation. I won't repeat the obscenity and the profanity that this man uttered when dealing with the death of Emmett Till. Emmett Till was beaten to death. He was lynched simply for allegedly looking or whistling at a white woman. But Lil Wayne felt that it was appropriate to make mockery of that young brother's death. Lil Wayne is not a deep thinker by any stretch of the imagination. And this is what the media does. They always want to bring attention to the buffoons. They always want to give the minstrels the mic and let those minstrels speak for black people. I find that outrageous. Now, during this interview, Lil Wayne said that he never dealt with racism. And that's his experience. That's what he claims is his experience. But I doubt that that's the case, being the fact that he was raised in Louisiana, the South. I really doubt that that was his experience growing up. And even if you look at it from a more analytical type of perspective, you can tell that obviously he probably was a victim of racism. Now, people tend to look at racism through a narrow lens. They think that if someone's not calling you a nigger, if someone is not being outwardly and overtly racist towards you, then that person is not a racist, and they assume that they haven't experienced racism if someone didn't call them a nigger or something like that. But racism is deeper than that. Racism is institutionalized in this society. Racism is black people being disproportionately poor in this country. Racism is black people being twice as unemployed as other groups of people in this country. Racism is black people nowhere near being equal economically with white people. And I'm going to say it over and over again, according to a Nation article, an article in the Nation magazine. It will take black people 228 years to reach some kind of level of equality economically with white people in terms of wealth. That's what racism looks like. Racism looks like black people being disproportionately and over incarcerated in this country. Racism looks like black people receiving more harsh sentences for the same types of crimes in this country. Coming from a poor black community, Lil Wayne experienced institutionalized racism, but he doesn't have the sophistication or the knowledge to realize that. I'm sure that many of his people have been arrested, harassed by the police. So this brother just doesn't understand racism. This brother lives an insulated type of lifestyle. He lives in a bubble. He lives a life that most black people do not experience. Most black people don't have anywhere near the wealth that he has. So he has some kind of degree of privilege. So his experience is slightly different. You know, it's different from the average black person in America. But without a doubt, being raised in a poor community in Louisiana, he experienced some kind of racism. He just didn't recognize it for what it was. He didn't recognize it and he didn't understand it. Now, this brother said that he thought that racism was over at one point. And then he actually said that he still does believe that racism is over. And then he goes on to say, but obviously it isn't, as kind of like a disclaimer or something like that. And this man confuses things. He thinks that because large groups of white people attend his concerts, because large groups of white people like to listen to his music, he thinks because of all of that, that somehow racism doesn't exist. We have to remember that white people have always loved to be entertained by black people. They love to see black people sing and dance. They love to see black people play ball, to shoot baskets, to throw footballs and tackle people. They love to see black people box or play tennis or golf. They love to be entertained by black people, but that doesn't mean that they love black people. During the height of Jim Crow, white people listened to people like Charlie Parker. During the height of Jim Crow, people listened to a James Brown. During the height of Jim Crow, people listened to a Ray Charles or Billie Holiday. They listened to those artists. But that didn't mean that they loved black people. That didn't mean by any stretch of the imagination that racism did not exist. While they were loving black music, they weren't loving black people. While they were loving black music, black people were swinging from trees with nooses around their necks. They were the strange fruit that Billie Holiday sung about. While they loved black music, black people were still forced to sit in the colored section. They were still barred from certain places. They were still told no coloreds and no dogs. While these white people listen to black music. While these white people love to be entertained by black people. And the same is true today. These people don't have any kind of respect for you as a human being. These people merely like your music. Much like how white racists loved a good minstrel show back in the day. They loved to see people dressed up like the Negro, painted black, with red lips, acting like a damn fool for their amusement, acting like a buffoon for their amusement. And that's exactly what you have become, a modern day minstrel for these white folks, a modern day caricature of what it means to be a black person. Tattoos everywhere, gold diamond teeth, just like a modern day minstrel. You aren't doing anything to promote any kind of harmony between the races. All you are doing is perpetuating the negative image of the black man. The image of the black man as a thug. The image of the black man as a womanizer. The image of a black man as some kind of criminal and drug user and drug dealer. That's the image that you are promoting. That's the image that these white people are in love with. So when they see black people, they see a minstrel like you. When the police stop the ordinary black man, they see the minstrel like you. They see that caricature, that stereotype of black people. So yeah, they don't have any problem being entertained by minstrels. They enjoy that. They enjoy it. So don't be deceived by these large crowds of white people listening to your music or attending your concerts. While they are entertained by your music, black people are being killed by white police. In your own state of Louisiana, a black man by the name of Alton Sterling was shot in the chest, killed live on camera. While you entertain these white people, while they are entertained by your music. While they were entertained by your music, you had countless other killings. You had the brother Eric Garner choked to death live on camera for the world to see. His only crime was supposedly or allegedly selling illegal cigarettes, and for that, that brother was choked to death. While these white people were entertained by your music. And there are countless examples of police brutality, and it's time for you to wake the hell up. Racism is nowhere near over. Racism isn't over because some white people like your music. It's not over. And this notion that these millennials are somehow not racist is absurd on its face. When you look at what's happening on college campuses, you can't say that racism is over. You can't say that the millennials are somehow more tolerant. When it was the damn millennials who were on a bus singing about lynching black people. When it's the damn millennials who dress up in blackface on Halloween. When you have example of example, after example of these young white people engaging in racism and defending racism. You can't tell me that these millennials are more enlightened than their fathers and mothers were. So those are just my thoughts about this situation. Tell me what you think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.